second it. I've got one. I would like to let everybody know and remind everybody that the French Broad River Metropolitan Planning Organization is going to have a public meeting here on July the 8th from 4 to 8. The plan will help guide decisions about highways, public transit, bicycle, pedestrian paths, infrastructure, and more. So we need all the people we can to come out and give them some good information on what you want. July 8th.
4 to 8.
From 4 to 8.
Sound like a drop in.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may just to quickly expound on that, it's for the region as a whole as well. So for Henderson County, Buncombe, and for the entire French Broad River MPO, and we're very thankful to have them come here and to use our space for to hear from the residents in the community.
Yeah, and I'll tag on to that too. That's a very important thing. It's how we have our input and to reach the DOT. Yesterday, I went to the Land of Sky Regional Council, and the council member from Fletcher was talking about how good their farm market is. So I got to throw in a plug for ours. I said, that's where our sense of community is just really enhanced. I said, go to Fletcher and get something, and come to Mills River and get something else. So come on to Mills River. That's pretty much it, right?
Your updates.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a few updates for you and for the public listening. So first off, the Land Preservation Committee that we've been working on over the last couple of months, really trying to get that off the ground. At the last meeting, as a reminder, we appointed that committee, and our council approved the committee members is a better way of wording that. And then, but the official kickoff is actually on July 1st. So we are hitting the ground running for FY26 with this meeting. We're very excited to get that ball rolling. I wanted to provide an update on the UDO language that we've been working on to try to with our representatives in the North Carolina legislature around our UDO process. So this is to put it lightly, this is a pretty crazy week. So a lot of bouncing around of bills and languages between. And so the last time we met, our language was in one, maybe two bills. And today I'm here to announce that it's actually in another bill now. And this it's House Bill 309. The language is various local bills number 6. And great news I get to share today with council and with the public that it passed today and has moved on to the next step, which is called ratification. Essentially, the presiding officers of that have to sign off on it. I don't foresee anything stopping that happening. Once that ratification has happened, it will then move to the governor's desk. So I just want to thank our representatives for their hard work, making sure that the elements around Mills River and the UDO has continued to be a front of mind for them as they've worked through their process up there. And so now we're very close to potentially having that bill signed, again, depending on the governor's decision. With that being said as well, we're continuing, regardless of the direction of that, we are still moving forward with our UDO process. We are still on track. Everything is still moving forward for that to meet that July 1st, 2026 deadline. And we're going to be providing more updates to council in the coming weeks and months. Another reminder, I got a little ahead of myself last time when I gave this update, so I want to provide a caveat here. We have officially transitioned from millsriver.org to millsriver.gov for our email addresses. So for our email addresses, for all intents and purposes, if you have Mills River, if you have, one of our email addresses saved in as millsriver.org, it's still going to come to us. It's going to come to us for quite a while. But that transition has officially happened to millsriver.gov for that, specifically for our email addresses. On July 2nd, we are officially making the transition to millsriver.gov for our website. In order to do so from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m., we'll be having some scheduled maintenance to make sure that transition happens. But then hopefully by 2 o'clock on July 2nd, you'll be able to see the brand new website with the .gov address. So it'll be very exciting. I want to just take a second and thank all the staff for all of their hard work spearheading this. It's been a lot of work over quite a few months, and I'm very excited to show you all of their work. If I opened up the window here, you may be able to actually hear the progress being done on our expansion property on storm debris removal. So that kicked off officially the other day. And right now, weather dependent, because everything is weather dependent during this time, they're looking at about 8 to 10 days in order to officially clear all of that out. Again, we're going to give them a little bit of grace as they work through that, but they're working really hard out there, and so I'm excited about that. And also, as a reminder to the public, please be mindful of running, exercising, walking your dogs, etc. on the maintenance road. I know that it's used heavily. I use it myself heavily for personal exercise as well. But there are some semi trucks that are on there. There's heavy equipment on there over the next 8 to 10 days. And I just highly ask that you respect the signage that's out there for yourself and protect yourself and for those that are with you. I'm going to get more into this during the FEMA update, but I'm also excited to announce that as you see the work out there, we've been working closely with SDR and our partners to be able to transition once this is closed, to start then moving the work to clearing off the storm debris located in our park, specifically in the meadow area, as well as within our various culverts and ditches. And so once that is done, maybe even before that's officially closed out, we're going to be able to move that equipment over into this area to help us with that. Many more details to come. I just know that the public is very excited about it. Trust me, we are too. The last but certainly not least, the playground expansion, the accessible park project that is out front is in the final stages. So if you walk by it, you're going to see that the painting on the sidewalk is still commencing, is still being worked on. It should be finished in the next couple of days. And then essentially we're in the punch list items right now. So just finalizing all those final pieces. And then hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be working on an official official opening of that. Details to come. We'll make sure it's out on our website and on our social media pages as well. So we're excited to be able to launch that in the coming weeks as well. So, and that concludes all of my remarks.
Awesome. Any questions about any of that?
Quick question on the county's spending that, is that through then, are they trying to get it where it's July 1st done, or do you think it'll go through July then?
Oh, I suspect it's going to go through July. Right, the contract as it's stated is that they must give us a 2-month notice before if they were going to change the terms. The terms go through at the beginning of August. So at that point, anyway, right now, my expectation is that the lease will go until that August date, and then it will be transitioned back to us.
Okay, I don't think we had anybody sign up for public comment. Anybody got any public comment for us? Hear none. All right, need a motion to approve our consent agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, Brian, second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion on our consent agenda? Hear none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hear none. Okay, moving on down to our proclamation for July is National Park and Recreation Month. Sorry, I ran out of time. I tried to hurry.
Yeah, your 3 minutes are up,
Oh,
Mr.
God,
Mayor.
man.
Sorry.
Sorry, no problem. Seemed quick, but okay.
So for yes, and I apologize. So for time for the proclamation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just
Yes.
want to make sure I heard. So Mayor and Council, July is National Parks and Recreation Month. And so for that, before you is a proclamation that if it so pleases the council, for me, I will read out. And then if you so choose to move forward with recognizing and voting on this proclamation. So proclamation designation of July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Mills River, And whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and a region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the town of Mills River recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, the Town Council of the Town of Mills River does hereby recognize July as Parks and Recreation Month in the Town of Mills River and calls this observance to the attention of all of our citizens, proclaimed this the 26th day of June, 2025.
Any questions? I think that was well written.
So,
I'll make the motion to proclaim why.
Thank you, Brian. Need a second.
and I'll second.
All right, Bill. Any discussion on it?
I'd like to thank our park staff.
Absolutely.
I love it. They're big.
Especially this week as hot as it's been.
Yeah.
I mean, it still looks beautiful out there, so they're still doing their job. Taking care of everything. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, regular agenda. We've got Brent here from Ag HC to do a presentation for us.
Thank you, Brent, for being here. I appreciate it. Do you have a presentation?
I do
Okay,
not.
just to confirm. Thank you.
Presentation, yeah. I'm here tonight, Mayor and Council, thank you for having me. I'm here tonight to let you know about a project, economic development project that's taking place in Mills River. Currently, the company's named their Project Sweet Tater. They're an existing company in Mills River. They're looking to expand, utilize some building they've already got on their property, retrofit it. It's gonna result in about a $4.775 million investment, and it's gonna create 35 new jobs. An average annual wage of about 59,000 per year, just over that. So I'm just alerting you to that. We'll need to. They are seeking Town of Mills River's incentive support. So we'll need to, I guess, do a public hearing. I make communication with Mr. McKeon about that. Provided him the incentive calculations to share. 7-year mimics the counties would not exceed more than $7,927.28. But I'm here to let you know about this project, answer any questions you may have about it. It's strictly a research-based company. They don't sell a product or make a product. It's a breeding program that they have. I guess it's proprietary. They're looking to expand their output, their ability to look at different crops. I'm here to answer any questions y'all may have about that.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just before we jump into it, as Mr. Costin mentioned as well, we have been in communication. There is a calculation for an incentive request for the town of Mills River. If the council wishes to move forward with considering that, what we would ask for council to do at the end of this discussion is to there's language on your green sheet for setting a public hearing. A public hearing is required for that, and at that time as well, if that public hearing is set this evening, we would share that in the incentive language with council, because therefore it'd become obviously a public hearing for that purpose, and we would move forward through that process.
Okay. Questions? When would they want to get started? Have they set a start date? You probably said, and I didn't pay
No, I
attention.
did not say. The original plan was 26.
26, okay.
There is some competition with their other facilities elsewhere in the United States, so it could get pushed out, but the plan's 3.5 first-year investment in 2026.
2026, okay.
Mr. Costin as well, if I may, can you confirm that this has gone before the county?
Correct.
Before Henderson County, similar conversation at the county, and they've moved forward, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, in my, I guess, rookie status, I didn't come to the same time the county and Mills River. The county did approve a resolution to incentivize this project as well.
Okay.
7 year.
Questions?
Do we know where it's gonna be at?
Is that, I don't know that information can be revealed today, or at the public hearing, or since the county's already went through it, maybe it is public? In the town of
Yes,
Mills
it's
River?
in Mills River.
Okay,
So it is in the town of Mills River,
Yeah.
and I'll lean on his determination on what he is able to share and what's not able to share, but, the project, it's obviously still under a project code name. And so for that reason, I would caution
yeah,
too many details.
I mean, I hadn't heard too much about it,
yeah,
so I
okay,
didn't know.
They currently employ 35,
okay,
so they'll be adding 34. It's about
34.
doubling their employee base. Like I said, the facility's existing. It's right now not being used.
okay,
So they're gonna start using that part of their property.
gotcha.
They had the desire to apply for the rural infrastructure building reuse grant, but they missed their deadline for that. So we'll see if that comes around again next cycle.
Okay. Anything else? If not, I'd entertain a motion to set this public hearing. I think it's, another good investment for Mills River to look at.
I'll make a motion that we set a public hearing for August 14th regarding offering economic incentives to the Project Sweet Tater Company.
Looking for a second, Brian, second. All right, any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. See you August
for coming.
14th.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, moving on to B, adoption of our resolution 2025-17.
So thank you, Mayor and Council. Give me 1 second to catch up where we're at within our. So, Council, before you here is just a follow-up to the budget that you have passed for FY 2026. So, as you may remember, within the pay plan that that Council adopted back in 2020 and January 2025, again, that started in 24, there was a recommendation in there to set a standard update to the pay plan as we work forward. This resolution essentially puts that into writing, where the pay bands move at the same rate as the COLA adjustments that you all have passed within the budget. And the recommendation is that this would then move forward, again, going forward every year, every subsequent year, until we have a full pay plan classification study again. Then that'll allow us to be closer to the ranges by the time we have the next pay classification. There may be adjustments up or down a little bit, but there won't be a massive jump because we've adjusted based off of a formulaic COLA adjustment. So before you is a resolution to adjust that pay plan to the cost of living adjustment of 2.95%, which is what was approved in the FY 26 budget, with one caveat, that caveat being the town manager's position. The town manager's position, by the design of that being a contract position, we have kept that to stay within its current range, but all other positions have been moved by that 2.95, and that's what we request for you all to adopt this evening.
Questions, discussion?
Well, in fact, if we hired him. You know,
Yes.
ongoing, you're already employed here. Just be, yeah. Hire.
It just kind of keeps that middle ground located and more properly.
Yes, and another way of putting this is that the pay band, the low, middle, and high, is supposed to be on the merit of an applicant. If we don't move the pay plan up at the same cost of living adjustment, a cost of living adjustment takes out merit, right? And so for that reason, it essentially would move a person up in their pay band, which would look meritorious, when in fact it's merely cost of living. For the most part, this isn't under the current circumstances here, but I will tell you from working in other organizations that the other rationale for this is if somebody's getting close to the upper echelon of their pay band without moving with the cost of living, you could actually move them then outside of their pay classification study, which could have ramifications on future COLA and merit-based decisions, right? So it's just, we don't want to have that compression at the top end. We want to make sure that if you're in 2025, you're, let's just say, just below the midpoint, then FY 2026 should also be just below the midpoint with an adjustment on merit. And that this keeps it in that kind of, that structure.
So the merit is the way to move up inside your pay band.
Yes, sir. Yes. And right now, without adopting this, what it would look like is a 2.95% plus merit would be what it would look like within the pay band. By adjusting by the 2.95 for this fiscal year, you're actually just saying whatever that merit was, that's how you've moved up within the pay band. 2.95% is just normal cost of living.
But that's this year.
Yes.
Next year, when you look at it, it will include the merit too as to where your pay is.
So individuals within the pay band, like as I mentioned, will have a if they with receiving a merit, they will be moving up within their pay band every year. But the pay plan band itself will be adjusted by whatever council adopts as the COLA increase. So again, this year we used a formula to get to 2.95. If next year the COLA formula shows that it's 1.5, then we'll bring forward this pay plan recommendation next year with a 1.5% COLA update, and that'll be the adjustment. But yes, an individual will move up that plus the merit, so they'll continue to move towards, either the midpoint or towards the high point based off of their meritorious work.
And I have seen it where employees weren't able to get a COLA because they were near the top of their pay band. So that hurts. If the pay band doesn't change, it ends up hurting people.
And it hurts council's feeling too when you get these reviews on all your employees and you realize you fell way behind and you got to catch them up at one time. So everybody's like, well, okay, we're gonna pull this money together to make this happen. So if we do this, it'll soften that blow. Then we're just really adjusting it according to what the pay is at other municipalities close to us here.
Exactly right, Mayor. Going through this for many years, an idea of there may be an adjustment where one position may get, paid more than what the COLA has been because the dynamics around us have changed a little bit. But you're going to be addressing that based off of the work expectations as much more than cost of living plus job specification.
Exactly.
And you want to try to lessen that first part as much as possible.
Gotcha.
The sticker shock out the last time.
Big time.
Yeah.
And that's what I asked for. I told them, I said, let's try to figure us out a plan to where we don't end up looking at, we're gonna jump these people up so quick, then just get it to them all along. Okay. All right, we got this on there. Any more questions, any more discussion on this? Everybody got a good feel on what it is, what it's for? If so, I'd entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion. Before I do, I'll just say how proud I am of our staff. And I appreciate your hard work making this happen. So we've got an amazing staff. We're just so blessed. So I make the motion to approve resolution 2025-17, adoption of the updated pay classification plan as presented.
Jeff made the motion. I need a second.
Second.
Brian, second. Any more discussion on it? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Moving right along to C, when you get caught up.
Mayor and Council, before you on this next item is a budget amendment regarding the grant project ordinance, specifically focused on round 2 of the cash flow loan program. And so as a reminder, in March 2025, we brought a similar one, which was round 1 of the cash flow loan program before council, which was approximately $134,000 from the North Carolina Department of the Treasury to help us literally with what the namesake is, cash flow. to assist with the repair work that's necessary, knowing that there's a that there's going to be a lot of money going out potentially for these repairs, and FEMA is not known to be incredibly quick on their reimbursements, right? And so under the first round, again, we were approved for $133,954 and change. You all council approved that in March. In the second one, we received notice that the town received an additional round of funding up to $88,391, and it follows a similar payback timeline. So again, just like the first one, $1 has to be paid back by the first anniversary of the round two loan date, and then 10% by June 30th of 2027, 20% by 28, et cetera. And as you can see on the screen, and really what the intent of this is, in my opinion, and from staff's opinion on this, is that as we work through the FEMA reimbursement project, again, that we're going to be talking about more this evening, when we get those reimbursements, these loans are going to be some of the first, will be the first ones that we pay off. The idea, though, is that it does not handcuff additional funds from the town. And I'm quite risk averse, and knowing that we're going into the next round of hurricane season, funding that's available for us that we know that we're going to more than likely be spending for these recovery efforts also then allows us to free up funds within our fund balance for other unknown issues that may be coming down the pike. And so that's why we're bringing this before you today for your consideration of the ordinance 2508. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And also our finance director, Julie Osteen, is also here to answer any of the more technical questions that if she starts looking at me like I'm answering, it just, he just gets a little nervous back there with me saying something. She may run up here quick.
Gotcha. What y'all got for him? Any questions?
Have we received the first amount of money? Yeah. When, like, we approved it in March, or when did we get it?
Any more? Any more questions?
And there's just a clarification for you as well. There are actually two steps for this. The step one, there's a cash flow loan program resolution that is required for approval. And then from there, there's an ordinance to update the grant project ordinance as the second step.
I had questions on this earlier, so I called Matt and talked to him, and he explained to me that sometimes FEMA funds do not come in that quick. And with having this to pay out, it frees up our funds to continue with projects that we need and stuff unknown that's coming down the line. So I think it's a good idea.
But we're committed to, once we get it, pay this off first, and then.
Yes, from a staff perspective, that is our goal. It is there to free up cash once we receive those the refunds from FEMA, the reimbursements. We are turning it around and paying it back.
And the second round, 0% too.
Mhm.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Entertain a motion. I have two on this one, I think, but separate them out.
I make a
Please.
motion to approve resolution 2025-19 to enter into round two of the cash flow loan program, loan agreement as presented.
All right, Brian made that motion. Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Sandra. Any more discussion on the resolution part of this? Hearing none, all in favor on it? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, we're looking for one for,
So I make the motion to adopt ordinance 2025-17 to amend the FY 2024-25 grant project ordinance as presented.
thank you, Brian. Second,
I'll second it.
Jeff second that one. Any discussion on 17? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right. All right, now we're looking at the adoption of ordinance 2025-18. That's gonna be tag team that look like.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. The next item is ordinance 2518, as you mentioned, fiscal year 25-26 budget amendment regarding sales and use tax refunds. Finance Director Julie Osteen is up here to present the information and to answer any questions that you may have.
Mayor, Council. Just wanted to give you a little bit of background information. The School of Government, I believe, as part of the hurricane and all of the money that's having to be spent in order to restore our Western North Carolina counties, has asked that all municipalities and counties in the state of North Carolina begin incorporating into our budgets the amount of sales tax that we are expending and also the reimbursement that we will get back as revenue from the Department of Revenue for those sales taxes that we have expended. Mainly because in this recovery, we are going to be expending a lot more sales tax than what we have been. So the ordinance 159.8 now addresses the capture of those expenditures and the subsequent reimbursement as revenue. So this budget amendment is a net effect of zero in reality. It will increase the budget because we have to increase the expenditure and the offsetting revenue that we will get back from the state for the expense of these items. But in reality, it's going to have a zero effect to the town. So
They just want you to track it.
they want us to track it. That's correct. It's becoming a material expense. So therefore, they're now requesting that we incorporate that in the budget. And that's what this amendment will do. Is when we did this, we calculated it based on an average over a 3-year average of sales tax expense and a 5-year, and they were within $1,200 of each other. So we feel like this is a fairly good representation. And then at the end of the year, what we will do is if this 15,000 is not enough with all the FEMA expenditures, we will bring an amendment to you to adjust that for actuals.
Okay. Questions? I understand.
Makes sense.
Bruce, that's a
So-
good job.
Can I ask one quick
Absolutely.
question,
Sure.
maybe? So like in ag world, I have a 8-digit number that I give and then I don't pay it. So like municipalities are paying it and then getting reimbursed by the.
Correct.
state. There's
We are
no-
required to pay sales tax, but then the state turns around and reimburses us
Uh-huh.
for those expenses based on the county in which we purchased the item.
Okay,
So,
so there's no forms out there that you would,
We do not have a tax exempt form for
Wow.
this, for the city or for the town.
thank you, learn something new.
everybody understand? Everybody good with it? Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2518. 6 budget.
Need a second.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, anybody got any more questions on this discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There none. All right, Mr. McCurahan, moving on to the strategic planning goal.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Sometimes I've been accused of getting incredibly excited about strategic planning work. I have no idea why.
That's why I singled you out like I did, because I knew it was coming.
This is your
But-
chance.
But I will tell you, this is truly an exciting day for me to bring before you a strategic planning update specifically around organizational goals. And we're going to jump into it. I'm going to repeat myself a couple of times, but for those that are listening at home, council has worked through adopting the strategic planning vision, mission, and values at our May 22nd meeting. 1,000-foot view about where we're at and where we're going. And today, through the hard work of the strategic planning committee and through the data synthesis group, I'm excited to bring for you recommendations for how to actualize that vision, that mission, and those core values to drive us to action over the next 2 to 5 years. And so, just for thinking about where we're going to be in 2 to 5 years, we're starting that discussion today with you as a full council, and it's just it's an exciting day, I think, for the town of Mills River. So I'm going to go over some items that we went over the last time. There's some data out there that says you have to repeat something 10 times before it sticks. I think I'm on time 20 for this, but I think it's always helpful as a reminder. We contracted with the UNC School of Government to assist us with that, specifically with Kim Nelson, Dr. Kim Nelson, and Dr. Obed Pasha for their experience in management, governance, and performance management. The data synthesis group and the strategic planning committee are here. Data synthesis group is made up of 4 members of the staff, and then the strategic planning committee is made up of 3 members of staff, 2 members of council, and then 2 members of advisory boards. One thing I just want to recognize up here is that my name is not up here, and the reason why for that is as a project lead for this, it's not the manager's strategic plan. It's not administration strategic plan. It is an organization's and a community's strategic plan, and to try to get the best effort we can to have a full picture of what the vision, mission, values, and goals are moving forward. It cannot be one individual. It has to be the group working together to set these goals. I could talk ad nauseum about this, but again, a couple of reasons why to engage in strategic planning and the why we started working on this. I really want to stick on promoting proactive governance. We as a community have many plans over the next 2 to 5 years. We've talked about that through the budgetary process. This is going to help us with setting those priorities and then fostering community engagement. For me and for us as well as a service delivery model, improving service delivery, making sure we're as efficient and effective with taxpayer dollars as possible. It's vitally important for the work that we do. And what do we want to achieve through this process? This is from at the beginning, as you may remember, there have been a couple of surveys that have gone out to key stakeholder groups, et cetera. This came out from that, moving from reactivity to proactivity, aligning budget to concrete goals and objectives. The way I like to say it, keep the car on the road. Right? There are curves in the road. The strategic plan is the guardrails to make sure that no matter what gets thrown at us, we're not going off the cliff. So looking at strategic planning, performance management, right now we are in that last phase of identifying priorities and going into setting clear expectations. We're moving into underneath that line. What that looks like on a phased approach is really this last step on the deliverables, right? So even though we had started the conversation in August of 2024 with the RFP, we kicked it off in December. The last step, as you can see down there, is goals and objectives after we've gone through the vision, mission, and values. I'm very excited if this moves forward with council this evening. Again, this is your strategic plan, so it's your determination on whether or not we move forward or if we need to take this back. But after this, then we continue on the work of setting objectives. Now, to level set a little bit here, when we brought forward the vision, mission, and values to council, we were also already working on goals and objectives. We just had moved to a point that we felt comfortable bringing vision, mission, and values to you. But we have been working for months. Those 2 committees have been working for months on goals and objectives, working through those areas, refining, continuing to hone what are potential goals for today, and then objective categories that came forward in May. And then those objective categories are now going to go forward at council's decision to the staff in July to start having the conversations about how are we going to actually create action items from a staff perspective to meet those goals that council has set forth. In order to do so, we're going to bring those objectives again back to council at a later date as well. So where does this look on the screen here? Again, the big things just to bring forward: kickoff in December, review, analysis, and tailoring the results. This is kind of just what I talked about before. We've been working on all 3 levels of this for months now, but we've been working in an iterative process to make sure that we're ready for each step of the way. Then the next step, once we had the mission, vision, value recommendations and continuing the goal discussion, we are now here to have that discussion with the full council about those goal statements. I love a good visual, so here's another one here. In green is where we've been, red is where we're at this evening, and then the blue is where we have yet to go. So just a quick reminder of the adopted vision, mission, and values. On May 22nd, Council adopted the vision of the town of Mills River preserves, sustains, and cultivates community. A truly impactful vision statement to guide us moving forward. How do we do that? What's the mission that's going to be driving us? The mission of the town of Mills River is to foster community well-being. And as you can see, words have meaning. The definition of key terms down there, I'm not going to read them all out to you right now, but everything that we have moving forward with this vision and mission and these values, the definitions drive the direction, and they're going to be a part of everything that's put out about these three elements. And last but certainly not least, adopted council values: respect, service, and integrity. And not just those terms, but how do we define respect, service, and integrity that is specific to the town of Mills River? So when somebody comes into the town of Mills River and they say, what does service mean to you? We can say, this is what it means to us. And this is what you should hold us to and keep us accountable to. So after moving forward with that, the core organizational values, again, working on this for months through the strategic planning committee and with the data synthesis group. And I'll lean on the two council members here if they have anything to say about the process. But I'll just say generally, it's a lively discussion. It could sometimes get down into the weeds, but that's the point, right? We want people to feel comfortable with it. And I want to pause here before I jump in if there's anything from the two members that you would like to say. Go ahead.
I think everybody's done a great job that's on the community serving, and I'd like to thank the School of Government as well for their guidance and yours.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
I would like to say that we've had a lot of input on this. They've thought every angle you could think of to pull this together and best represent our community and our values. And I'm proud to be part of helping with that. And thank you to Matt and Brian and everybody else that's participated in it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'd just say it's truly been a team effort to get to this day, but this is only the next step in a process that's going to continue to pay dividends moving forward. The core organizational values here, core organizational goals here. Really what we're asking ourselves are, what are the greatest challenges? What are the areas we need to address? But also, where are the greatest opportunities, right? So it's both, where do we see some issues coming down, but also where do we want to be? The vision's telling us where we want to be. The goal should guide us towards that direction. And we really started at this high level. We started talking about what those strategic issues were, right? What are those policy choices or challenges that are going to be there, right? These are just some elements that we talked through at the very beginning. It's going to be something that impacts the entire community, the entire organization. It's something that would have to come before council on the council agenda, right? Those real strategic issues for guidance. We started having those those conversations. If it's going to be an issue that's going to be 2 or more years from now that we have to start thinking about. We took that information and we reframed those strategic issues into goal categories and then into goals. And the recommended goal 1 for council this evening, through our SWOT analysis, one of the highest part across, when I say the SWOT analysis, as a reminder, SWOT analysis from the survey of stakeholders at the very beginning, the strength that rose to the top was staff. And so one of the categories that came out through this was recommended goal 1, which is to attract, retain, and cultivate an engaged workforce. Again, the term cultivate, you see it in the vision, you see it throughout, but then also, again, attracting, keeping them, and then building that engaged workforce rose to number 1. And please, by all means, if you have any questions, stop me. Recommended goal number 2 really focuses on the financial health and well-being of our community. We very much value being good stewards of the taxpayer dollar. And so recommended goal 2 before you tonight is to ensure financial health and resilience. And we really focused on the idea that is you can be financially healthy, but you also really must be ready to be resilient, financially resilient moving forward as well. So those two elements rose to the top, and then potential objectives underneath there to try to attract both of those or try to achieve both of those. I would say that we stuck on the term ensure because we are in a very good financial position currently. And I believe that we're in a resilient posture now. So we want to ensure that we continue to focus on that over the years and through our decision making moving forward. Recommended goal number 3 is to encourage and cultivate the thoughtful use of land. And so the idea about the thoughtful use of land here before you is, again, these goals are broad. So as a reminder, not one department, not one entity or organizational structure is going to handle all of one goal. It's going to be across the board. And so there was a lot of conversation about the thoughtful use of land and what does that mean? Does that mean, protecting farmland, the rural character of the community, also being thoughtful about, development moving in? What does the community want to look like and feel like? All of those various elements could potentially come within this recommended goal 3, and that's why these words were very I would say were thoughtful in the way that they were chosen, in the way that they were chosen in this recommended goal 3. I know there was a lot of conversation. I'll pause here real quick for the 2 council members if there's anything else you would like to add about this. I just want to make sure I've clarified enough.
I would just like to stress that it looks like 5 or 6 words on a page, but when you spend 3 hours talking about this thing, 5 or 6 words, it's pretty crazy.
I would say that the words are impactful, and they, each one of them have meaning for how we're going to move forward if, again, council chooses to move forward. Goal 4, recreation obviously is a massive draw for the town of Mills River and a massive it's integral to the work that we can provide as a service here as well. So recommended goal 4 is to foster recreational opportunities for all ages and abilities. Again, for all stages of life, for all abilities, making sure that we're thinking through those types of recreational opportunities to meet people for the needs that they have when they come to visit the town of Mills River, or for our residents in the town of Mills River. Recommended goal number 5 is to enhance community development. Now, this is another one that when we were looking at, again, it can be defined in many ways. And what does community development mean for the town of Mills River? That's going to really also come out through our objectives and action items, et cetera. But really, community development, and by the word enhance, is looking at the way that we can foster those opportunities with partners, whether it be interlocal governmental, if it's nonprofits, et cetera, to really create a feeling of community and decision making around community development. So it's both internally for us, but then also opportunities outside and fostering those elements within that would foster those opportunities that would help to enhance community development moving forward within the town. What that looks like in particular, we're still working through what that looks like. But you could talk through, greenway extensions. You could talk through, there've been, if there's the bike and pedestrian bike ped plan, those types of things. When we're talking through those larger scale elements, where does it fit? Where does it look? Enhanced community development rose to the top as a potential goal number 5. And anything else around that as well? I just take a quick pause. And then goal number 6 is to uphold excellence in community safety. So we have 2 amazing partners with the Henderson County Sheriff's Office and with Mills River Fire and Rescue. They do this hard work on our behalf of the town, and as a town, it's indicative on us to ensure that excellence is being upheld at all levels because our residents deserve that. And so this is one of those goals, again, working with our partners, defining what community safety looks and feels like moving forward. It rose again as that last but certainly not least recommended goal at that high level.
Would that include our partners at the NCDOT,
Absolutely.
highway safety,
It can, absolutely.
projects and
Yes, sir. So anything when it comes to community safety, again, when we think of community, we purposely didn't choose, and again, correct me if I'm wrong in here, there were conversations about public safety, right? And then the question actually expanded to say, well, it's not just public safety and the term, those normal entities you think of public safety, it's true community safety. What does that mean? We want people when they come, residents of the town of Mills River to feel safe living, working, and playing in the town. And how do we achieve that? This is focused on that outcome.
This kind of includes everybody that we partner with, like the group that does the river restoration and all that. It's all inclusive in safety and excellence in the community.
And one of the things about this, I'll just as an aside, is throughout this, the next steps, if council so chooses to move with this or amended goals as you see fit, is to how do we define excellence in community safety? How, as an example, how do we define ensuring, financial health and resilience? That's going to be the performance management side that we're going to create performance measures on, that performance management piece that helps us to define that the objectives will help us get there. The measures are going to tell us whether or not we're achieving that end result. And so those are the 6 goals that rose to the top during this discussion. And I'll say that, and I caution, I dare not want to speak for the strategic planning committee as a whole, but I'll say that there were a lot of discussions about many other items that may rise up to a goal. And through an iterative process, trying to find those buckets, those categories that encompass what the surveys were telling us, but then also where those issues and concerns would slot into within these goals. Before you now are those final 6 for consideration. And so if moving forward tonight, again, based off of your decision here tonight, we'll move into that next level of goal and objective alignment. That'll be a staff focused element that is currently tentatively scheduled for July 10th. And then from there, we're also going to then be moving into that performance management piece, as you see in the fall of FY26, operationalizing all of these, then coming forward to you all as a council to say, this is the final product before you now in fall of 2026 with a full strategic plan to guide us for the next 2 to 5 years. There's going to be an official unveiling of all of that information. We're working through that right now as well. And then also in FY26, whenever we get to that point, it's also then putting in a community survey that will be driven by service delivery that we can provide, but within the categories of the goals that are approved, so that we can then get further feedback from the council on what the community, further feedback from the community on what their priorities are, whether or not the strategic plan is speaking to them, where those gaps may be. The strategic plan is a living and breathing document. You will visit this every year while I am here. Like, as long as while you all are here, while I'm here, this will be
You better keep it interesting.
Yes. This will be a driving document for the work that we do. And so, and every year that we do a community survey, every couple of years when we do a community survey, if council wants to move forward with that, we'll continue to help you to refine that based off of what the community is telling you. That's the direction that we're moving starting this evening.
Okay.
And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Questions? How many areas y'all think y'all got in this so far to get to here?
I would say you have at least 6 meetings with at least 8 hours, or well, at least 7 hours piece, so over 40 hours if not more with this, with the stakeholder surveys, et cetera.
That's including DSG.
Oh, no, sir, I'm sorry, I
mean,
apologize.
That's
just for you all.
us. I
Right.
mean, to include the DSG, that's probably, you get to speak to that.
Yes, we're probably at about, I would say on average, 10 to 15 hours extra a month as well through this work as well. So I would just add, approximately another, 30, 40 hours on top of that for our staff so far that serve on the DSG.
I appreciate the commitment. I mean, it's something that's been needed here for a long time to get us, it just makes future councils in a little easier road to know which way we're headed, not having to guess getting into it.
This has so much more meaning after we did the comprehensive plan. I think we were the first ones around here to do that. And we really didn't realize what we were doing when we did it because we didn't know the effect and the accountability for it. And that's why there's issues now with zoning where it's at and different things. And knowing that and then looking at this gives it a whole new life.
Okay.
And it's important to get all the input we can.
Sure.
And I appreciate everybody involved with it. And I hope when it comes time for surveys, people do get involved and pay attention to it.
Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. And, as part of that, I'll say this is great work. Make the motion that we adopt the strategic planning goals for the town of Mills River as presented.
I got a first, how about a second?
I'll second.
James, second. All right, any more discussion on the strategic planning goals? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, any other business that anybody has before we move on out of this one? Hearing none? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
Thank you, Brian, second.
I'll second.
Sandra, any discussion on why we're adjourning this one? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. All right. Moving over to we need to make a motion to go into our business meeting portion of this.
I'll make a motion to go into our business meeting.
Thank you, Brian. Second.
Second.
James, second. Any discussion on why we're doing that? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, FEMA update.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I would say, when I was putting the draft agenda together, I should have put more people's names on the presenter piece for, you all have to listen to me talk a little bit more this evening. But I think that this is incredibly important of an update for yourselves and also for the community at large about the work that's been going on so far with Helene recovery, specifically within the town of Mills River on our property. And so I want to give a little bit of a caveat here as well before I jump in. We're going to go over projects and initiatives where they're at. And after this evening, we're going to take this information and then tomorrow be putting that on our website as a news flash as well. We know that a lot of our community members are very interested in where we're at with the projects. And also, to be completely honest, it's warm outside. It's summertime. We have a lot of park patrons who are interested in knowing where we're at within this. We want to make sure we're as transparent as possible around this. And I'm excited to be able to share a lot of these details tonight. And then the goal is once we put it on the website, especially these projects, we're going to be keeping them up to date as they are updated to make sure that if somebody has a question or an issue, we're going to be pushing it out through there and through our social media channels as well. And so really when we talk about debris, when we talk about Hurricane Helene relief and FEMA, we're really talking about categories. And so category A and category B are our emergency categories. And so they're debris removal and emergency protective measures. Then C all the way down, technically through Cat Z are what we call the permanent repair, permanent work projects. And so they have different timelines, different expectations, different requirements, etc. And so we're going to talk through where we're at right now. So that's obviously, this photo, it doesn't take long before this, before it looks quite different out there now. But the work that's been going on to date has been minimum of weekly meetings, if not 2 to 3 meetings a week with our FEMA representatives and with our Land of Sky representatives, working through how best to tackle the issues that are affecting the town of Mills River. That doesn't bring much consolation to those who may, we could, I wish that we could move faster with these projects just as much as anyone else, but the hard work from our staff to continue to try to make sure that not only are we trying to get back to like we were, but then be good fiscal stewards of taxpayer dollars and be reimbursable from FEMA, takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and resource. And I want to thank our staff so much for their continued efforts behind the scenes, making sure that we're actually here today with the progress that we've made. So Cat A, debris removal. We are looking at culvert and drainage repairs. There are multiple culverts and drains that are currently on this property that are both clogged and or have some damage related to storm debris. The parks and grounds repairs and restoration, mostly around our within the meadow area, the riverbank, etc., and then that gravel road in that parking lot. These are Cat A. These are considered emergency storm debris removal pieces that have been categorized within there. I'm excited to share, as I shared at the beginning, when the town entered into the contract with SDR to assist us with right-of-way storm debris removal within the town, a part of that contract also allows them to be able to assist us with storm debris removal on our property. Obviously, because of the massive impact of debris and damage within Mills River and within Henderson County, the priorities are what the priorities are, and the priorities are making sure that we get people back into their homes, that people get their storm debris picked up as fast as humanly possible. And we're still working on making sure that they are going to make sure they get every piece of storm debris off of the right of way in the town of Mills River before they're done. But now they're getting to a point now where they're able to assist us and shift some of their resources to help make sure that we get whole here within the community, within the property as well. Right now, it's estimated 2 to 3 weeks to start, weather dependent. My goal is that it's going to be a little bit sooner than that. Again, they're moving quicker out there than what I originally expected. Again, though it's weather dependent, I've met with our SDR partners and 3 times within the last 2 weeks. And then I'm planning on meeting with them and Debris Tech, which is the monitoring agency, early next week to finalize a plan to tackle it to the back. So my expectation is that 2 to 3 weeks is the furthest out before we do that. But that being said, please respect I just asked the community to please respect the signage that we're going to have, because it's going to be an active construction area back there as we remove the storm debris. The other part of the emergency work, there's some familiar faces in this photo as well. And we have gone ahead and submitted our Cat B projects. These projects again are really focused on the emergency protective measures that we had to take. The time to close up shop, to make sure that we were making it safe for people to be here, etc. You can see that the prices that are on there right now for the projects that we believe are eligible through Category B emergency measures, and we have pushed all of that, a total of $16,000 to FEMA for their next steps, which is reviewing and then coming back to us. In fact, right before I came here today, they had already gone through their major step of this, and that they've already asked for a couple of extra documents, and we've already provided those for them. So again, they're on it. They're trying to move as fast as possible as well. For Category C and Category D, again, looking at specifically culverts and drainage and stormwater, and what we call stormwater conveyance. SDR has confirmed that they will remove the debris from our culverts and ditches so that we can fully assess damage. I mean, as a reminder, we can see what we can see, but until we get in there to truly understand it, right now their goal is to get it back to where water can flow in case we have another weather event, but we may find further damages through that process as well. TRC, as a reminder for council, acronyms, right? There's so many acronyms in this. TRC is our engineering firm. We've chosen them to help us with helping to identify all of the damages, all of the issues that are around the park, and then helping us with project scoping, helping us with the bid process, etc. They're going to be handling the design, permitting, and bidding of these projects as they go out, as they're approved by FEMA, right? So the survey data, as you can see, environmental permitting. Right now, we have estimated 6 months to shovel ready. I'm going to go more into detail on what that looks like moving forward. There are some caveats to that I want us to talk about. It's hard to believe that the only two buildings that did not have floodwaters in them are the building that we're sitting in and the maintenance building down here. But as a reminder, here's a photo of the water that made it into one of our restrooms. We have completed these Cat E building projects as well, and we've submitted those projects for FEMA reimbursement for $30,000, $523 and 27 cents. Now, I want to point out here less insurance. So there are two things that go on. There's the insurance piece of it, and then there's a FEMA piece of it. We're working concurrently through that. So as a reminder, we have property insurance, essentially our properties, our buildings that are covered, our facilities is the best way of putting it. So we are working through insurance claims for both wind claims and flood claims. When I say less insurance, right now we have received approximately $12,000 to $13,000, which, as council may remember, within one of the ordinance documents, for the wind claim damages. The other claim, which is flood claim, we are still working through them, and I'm in calls with them on a weekly basis as well, trying to speed up that process. So as of right now, we're in the final stages. I believe early next week is when I'm going to get the final document around what they're going to cover as well. Now, as an aside, the flood claim deductible. I've learned a lot about insurance, I would just say, over the last few months. Because it's a named windstorm, our deductible moves up quite substantially to $50,000. As of right now, we're at approximately $52,000 worth of damages, and with the potential addition of a couple of items that we believe we're going to be covered. What that means, though, is if the insurance company says, "Hey, you met your deductible or you didn't meet your deductible," we're going to get a letter from them saying such, and then we're going to also then turn around and turn it over to FEMA and say, "Hey, we did not meet." This is what they're going to cover. This is what they're not going to cover. So again, we're working concurrently through two processes about what's going to be covered, because FEMA does not want to cover anything that our insurance will cover. You can't double dip. So we're working concurrently through that, and it's been a process. Category F, utilities. The two main areas here are the sewer pump station and the well house, as well as the well. The sewer pump station were both damaged by the flood beyond repair. The first one, we knew it needed to be replaced completely. The second one, we did create a temporary repair, and we were hoping that was going to hold a little bit longer, but sure enough, over the last couple of months, that one also ultimately failed, and we moved quickly to identify that pump. So we've always had one. Once that first sewer pump was replaced, we've always had minimum of one. But now we have had to amend our FEMA project to ensure that we get that second one in there as well as for our insurance. And we're in the final processes of getting that installed. If it's not this week, it'll be next week. I think that's the current timeline. They've been waiting for parts. The other one is the well in the well house that's located on the dairy property. So as it says here, we are looking at multiple options on that. There are some issues with it because it's currently located within the 100-year floodplain. But it is attached to the dairy. So we're working with insurance to make sure, hey, is it actually covered because it's part of the building versus not because it is technically in the floodplain. But at the same time, we're having conversations with FEMA to talk about potential mitigation efforts, which is to try to move that in some way out of the floodplain through mitigation funds so that this type of situation won't happen again. So we're exploring both options simultaneously right now to try to see what's going to be best for that project moving forward. Uh, as an aside, we looked at it because one of our consultants said, well, what if you just raise it out of the floodplain? And we said, well, I don't know if you want to, climb 10 feet up a ladder to get into the well pump. We probably need to explore another option. So again, we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense there. I do want to take a step back and say that throughout this entire process, FEMA has been incredibly helpful, helping us through identifying and understanding the modes and methods for as well as with our Land of Sky partners to categorize these in ways that have the best likelihood of getting approved by FEMA, but then also the best chance for the community to continue to be resilient, the property itself to have mitigation and resilience where we can. And so it's an arduous process, but I just want to give a shout out to all of our partners for their work. The big one that a lot of people have been talking that are on the front of people's minds are our parks, grounds, and features. It's category G. Right. When we first got here, one of the first elements that we really focused on was repairing the playground and the mulch. We also repaired the dog park and the soccer fields using town employees, and I cannot say it enough. The hard work and dedication of our parks and recreation staff to get the elements that we have open as fast as humanly possible. The fact that we have the elements open as quickly as they were, it's solely because they wanted to ensure that that people had a place to recreate during a time of devastation. The next step, the next steps that you can see here is that we're looking at really focusing on trying to create safe river access and repairing the boat launch and restoring the native wildlife meadow. We also know that the tennis court and the asphalt cracks are an issue. So that's a part of category G. And then also repairing and replacing the baseball field drainage. So again, as you may know, we have baseball going on, right now. And yet at the same time, we know that there are major drainage issues on the back. So replacing that, getting into something that's going to be more resilient moving forward. So all of these projects are there. I'm going to take it aside here and just also mention the I know that river access is vitally important to our patrons and vitally important to the residents of the town of Mills River. One of the first things that I said when I had the opportunity to come visit the town of Mills River is I cannot wait to drop a kayak into the Mills River and float upstream or float downstream. Right, I'm incredibly excited for that. I'm going to at this time I just caution those trying to get to the river. It looks like there are paths that get there, but you're standing on storm debris, sand and silt that is unsteady, that there are holes underneath it. You don't know what you're stepping on right now. Also, if you get to the river, one of our focuses, and we've been talking about this as a staff for months now, is how do we create safe entry and exit points? When I say that, I want to stress points, because the ability to go in at one location may be okay. But if for some reason something happens and you start to float downriver, we have to have a secondary exit point for you before you leave the property. And so we're really focusing on this next step to create an avenue where not only can people get into the river safely, but then they can get out of the river safely as well. And one of the things that keep me up at night is someone getting into the river and something happening, and then they float downriver past the bridge and then off of our property, because especially off of our property, there are less places to get out downstream. So just, I want to stress that. I don't want to get, make it too serious of a conversation. It's just very important to us as a staff. So we're really focusing again on that Cat G because we know it's one of the most visual elements that we have and to the front of mind and in the hearts and minds of our residents. So we talked about next steps. I want to kind of go over this briefly here. I kind of separated this into pre-bidding and bidding. I want to talk through this briefly as well. Once, once we have sent the TRC report, we are going to make that TRC report available on the website as well tomorrow. Council, you all have seen this report. The once we have worked through all of that, which we're in the very final stages of confirming that with FEMA, making sure everything's aligned properly, we are going to be ready to move forward with that next step, which is the field survey with TRC, which is data collection and identification of ecological features. Obviously, they had to do some of that work through it, but in order to create a true project scope, they need to come back out. This is what their focus is going to be on. They believe that they can be done within 45 days from notice to proceed. When you look at these timelines, I looked at TRC and I said, I want timelines that I can that are reasonable, but I don't but also where we're not going to come back and say you've blown through that timeline. I need you to be able to provide us with guidance that we can hold you accountable to. So this is where I believe it will hopefully be less than 45 days, but they said up to 45 days. Okay, and that's where all of these come into play, right? A very conservative approach to a timeline. The next step here is after the 45 days field survey is the civil design phase, really focused on Cat C, D, and G. Again, the G really being focused on parks down in the meadow area and the riverbank. 8 to 12 weeks post the field survey. Okay. Once that is done, oh, sorry, no, not once that is done. I apologize. Running concurrently with that is a hazard mitigation analysis report. So as a part of FEMA, they have hazard mitigation specialists that they review all of these projects as well. And so we'll be working with them and through this analysis report, identifying where there may be mitigation, extra funding to like, fixing the kayak launch, upsizing culverts. There are certain sizes that need to be a larger size. The tennis court fencing is currently in the asphalt. We're thinking about larger poles with, in concrete so it won't damage the asphalt if it bends again. Those kinds of things that we may have opportunities now with different funding sources. And then again, running concurrently with above is permitting. Anytime that you're, touching a property in the floodplain, and it's going to be disturbing land more than an acre. There are certain erosion control issues. There are certain water quality permits, erosion control permits, floodplain permits, watershed permits, et cetera. We control the watershed permitting process, obviously. But they said 8 to 12 weeks, again, concurrent with above. Again, hopefully sooner than that, but building in a little bit of time just in case. Once all of that's done, we believe that with the cost of this, it's going to be in the formal bidding range. So there are certain formal bidding requirements that the state, that we, as well as the state, and then our uniform guidance policies require us to meet, right? And so the formal bidding essentially says at the high level, you must have it available for 30 days of public advertisement. We think we can do that concurrently with some of the timeline with permitting, but we have to know what the permits are necessary, at least according to TRC, around what that is, but really trying to drive in that 30-day notice that we have to meet. And then from there, like I said, that's when the work can really move forward. So that's why earlier when you said when we showed up to 6 months, I've been told 4 to 6 months, again based off of how fast that they can move through that, is the timeline for the repair specific elements for the town. And I know I promised I said I was going to be brief on this. I haven't been, but I think it's important. One of the reasons why we're here now is because in the immediate aftermath of the storm, we pushed forward with putting out an RFP or an RFQ for storm debris removal and the work. And we did not receive any bids back in return. And we understood why, right? There are many people, there are many communities that were feeling pain, and resources weren't available at that time. And so we really then started focusing on how do we couple these projects and initiatives to become more attractive to potential bidders, and at the same time also provide a little bit of a time gap to allow for those crews and those companies to be able to actually look at our projects as well. So it was twofold. And so now I'm very excited with talking with TRC, talking with our other partners, that we're in a good sweet spot to move forward to be able to meet this timeline that's so here, surveying, design, permitting, and construction administration, that full cost is currently slated at the high end at $200,000. If you look at that, like I looked at that, I made a phone call or two and I said, you have to be kidding me. Surveying, design, permitting, and construction cannot cost $200,000. Their response is that they're working diligently to make sure that that does not come anywhere close to that. So I hope within the next couple of weeks or few weeks that I have an amended cost for that much lower than $200,000. They are aware, and they themselves are going to work to fix that. But the construction cost, we feel fairly confident in between $350,000 and $450,000. Again, $450,000 being the top. The latest estimate I saw was about $380,000 to $400,000. But again, based off of what the total cost is, and those unique qualities. As a reminder to council, but also to those at home, the goal is at this 350, or the total at the high end of both is $650,000. The goal is to get as much FEMA reimbursement of this as possible, which means following FEMA requirements to a T. And so for that reason, we're being very diligent to make sure that this $650,000, or again, this estimate, is going to come back to the town of Mills River because we followed the requirements as laid out within FEMA to where they say, congratulations, here's your reimbursement. So with that being said, I know that was a lot of information, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you may have tonight, or if anything over the next few days. I'm happy to have further conversations.
Good presentation. Thanks for all that info. Keep us posted as we move forward.
Yes, sir.
Some of these dates being where they are, it looks like some of the plannings and all is not gonna work out this fall, so it's gonna get pushed out, but it's understandable. Potential future agenda items?
Well, if I may,
Yes,
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. Just one caveat to that. As I mentioned, our goal is also to create access points, where we can. And we know, for instance, if SDR is going to be coming in next week, let's say to start the cleanup in the back, we know that there's a gap between that and the actual repair work. And so what our goal is to make sure that we provide access where we can to the amenities that we can temporarily through the rest of the summer into the fall. And then by that time, when we need to shut down areas for that type of true repair work, that's when obviously we're going to have to do that. But our goal is not to shut down that back area and once SDR starts and just keep it off limits. That's I've been very clear with SDR, been very clear with TRC that that is not acceptable, and that our residents expect us to have, to be able to live, work, and play in this community and at this park, and that means giving temporary access where we can and only shutting it down when we need to.
Okay, fair enough. Potential future agenda items? Anybody got anything?
I asked Matt the other day, I called him and gave him my displeasure on the managed meadow. But as we go forward with some of these projects and then building out over here, putting timelines on projects like when we were to go bid like the new steps or the new access, like, hey, there's it has to be done by May 1st, or there's a fee, and we talked about it a little bit, that I don't know, some of it's doable, but I'd like to have a conversation about it, if going forward Matt had the good idea, that there's chances you can split it essentially and say that there's a fine if you're late, but there's a incentive if you're early. I don't know. I feel like it might save a little bit of heartburn.
Yeah, okay.
Councilmember Cantrell, if I may, just for clarification, what I think may be helpful for a future agenda item is generally speaking what North Carolina General Assembly allows us to do when it comes to bids, types of bids, the restrictions, et cetera. And then we can look at our internal ordinances and policies as well. We can put that together into a presentation for you all to consider what you all may or may not like. But we're going to need some more time to obviously explore the legality of those, but there may be opportunities there.
Okay.
That's what I said, just.
Wait, he said it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay, understood.
Thank you.
I understood you and him. Go ahead. Nothing.
I had a question, with the ag lease that we did on the property on the other side over there, were they able to go ahead with that?
It's my understanding that yes, that they have gone back there, that they have planted soybean back there as well. And in fact, I believe we ran into them just at the last council meeting as well, going back and checking on it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff, okay.
One thing real quick, we talked last meeting about bringing in consulting engineers for items that have an engineering stamp on them. And I speaking to an engineer today, and sometimes they have a hard time meeting our timeline when something like that comes up, because we've got a pretty quick turnaround. So what I would recommend, if we move forward with that, we put out an RFQ and have a list of engineers, so that we go down the list, and if someone just can't get to it in time, we go to the next one, or we go to the next one. And we do it in a way that we don't say, oh, well, you couldn't do it, so we're not going to use you again, but just, understand that workloads change. Some weeks you're slammed. Sometimes, you might get to something.
Councilmember Moore, thank you for that introduction to an item that I was going to, and I meant to mention earlier as well. Thank you so much. You read my mind. One of the things we heard loud and clear at the last meeting about looking at engineering firms and having some kind of structure in place going down the list, as you mentioned. One option that we have and I've begun exploring is an on-call RFP or RFQ. Specifically, what that would allow is a council, we would be able to put out this RFQ and for specific types of services or just general services that may be coming forward. And then those firms can then respond to our bid. But by being an on-call service, it truly is an on-call service. So then we know that we've gone through the procurement process as required. And then, if one engineering firm is stronger in one area than another area, we may be able to lean on one more than another. Or to your case, if workload is really strong on one, we have another one that's already been vetted and approved by council, so that we don't have to lose time and resources with doing an RFP for each and every individual project that moves forward. So that's something that I'm working forward. Again, if council would like to move forward with that, bringing forward that item in August for your consideration.
Okay, excellent. And one thing to consider that some communities, some municipalities putting out RFQ like that, where you send in your qualifications, they also have a caveat, you must be pre-qualified by the NCDOT. That's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because they're vetted by the DOT, but having gone through the process of getting pre-qualified it's not easy. For a small company, you spend a lot of work not knowing if you're going to ever get any of that money back. A lot of work, time is money in a small company. And if you spend 100 hours getting pre-qualified and you don't get chosen, we could be excluding a lot of the smaller firms and a lot of really good people around that can respond quickly and give us reasonable. We can't use money as the deciding factor for a professional service. We use qualifications, but it sure doesn't hurt if they come in and charge less money than one of the big companies with a lot of overhead. So something to think about.
Understood. I'll make sure whatever proposal comes before council either calls that out for conversation or addresses it in some way that allows council to provide guidance on that.
At least let's at least think about it. Do we want to go with only people that are pre-qualified, or do we want to go with people that are qualified and you got an engineering license? If it's in your area of expertise, just realize that they may not have the money to go through the pre-qualification process. Something to think about.
When would we expect to see bids on the interior upfit of this building?
So right now, we're in the process of, we've been in the process, we've had conversations about it, but we have not put together the formal document yet, but I suspect that Parks and Rec Director Nicole Sweat is currently out of town. When she gets back, we're gonna tag team that to make sure it hits the ground running. We've
Yeah,
already
I'd-
done our due diligence on trying to identify what the needs are, obviously through the budgetary process, so I think it's gonna be relatively quick turnaround for
I'd
that.
just like to see that get moving ASAP, because we kind of had a internal promise to our staff that we was definitely gonna do that.
Understood. Yes,
I
sir.
need to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Anybody got anything else? Okay, if not, I need somebody to put us into closed session.
Make a motion to put us in the closed session pursuant to GS 143-318-11. A4 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other business.
Thank you. All right, second.
Second.
Go ahead.
Sandra got a second. Everybody understand what we're doing here, going into closed session? Any discussion on it? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. All right, Britt,